So as a business owner, I always look at not the return on investment, because it's very, very, that's like a hustler mentality. You got to look at your return on equity globally between all of your businesses, all of your properties, all of your interests. So if there's something that's taking too much of your time and it only makes X amount of money, well, guess what? You got to cut this business, even though, like, but if you see potential and blah, 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 right? I mean, there's some of those things you kind of have to go through. But if you got a property, for instance, and I don't know, it's too much maintenance or wrong part of town or neighbor sucks or whatever, you got to cut it. What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Let's Be Honest show, where we talk about business, lifestyle, and everything else in and between. Today, we got my man Donald Payne, D. Payne, in the house. Friend, realtor, investor, philanthropist.
Come on.
And maybe politician. Maybe politician.
Honestly, I could see it.
World traveler for now. World traveler for now.
You're just a life extraordinaire, my man.
Hey, man, you got to go hard at everything you do.
Where's the last place you traveled to?
And there it is.
Don, where's the last place you traveled to?
I did a 9-day trip.
For a little bit?
Yeah, I did a 9-day trip. Mexico, Colombia, Dominican, and Puerto Rico.
You were gone forever. I didn't think you were coming back.
Hey, brother. If I had a cash flow like you, I wouldn't be back.
He didn't have no cash flow today, trust me. I seen it. We made no money today.
Yeah, they call that a hiatus.
Yeah, that's just a day. It's just a day. But, over the year matters.
Yeah, what made you do that? I know we talked about this before, but I don't know if I really know.
Yeah, a couple things, man. Two main reasons. I want to get better at Spanish. And I thought, for some funny reason, 90 days in a different country, I'd actually learn it.
You didn't think Duolingo would do the trick?
I had a tutor, still have a tutor now. But I just wanted to do it. Another thing is I didn't really go to college. I've been working for like the last 10 years, and I'm 30. I've been working since I was 20. So I just kind of wanted to have an experience, and it definitely was an experience.
So did you just go straight into the real estate game then? Pretty
much. I mean, I went to college, and I went to college even after I became a real estate agent, and I went back and finished my degree. But ever since I was 20, man. I mean, I started college 2 weeks after I went to high school, after I graduated high school, and then I had a job making like 30 hours a week, so I didn't party, I didn't do anything in college. I just worked all the time and took a bunch of classes.
I think the thing that's interesting about you is you've been doing real estate a long time, but you're an investor, you're an agent. I mean, I would say a real estate extraordinaire, if I could use a term like that. But the thing that I find that's interesting is you have some people that build these massive businesses, then get consumed with these businesses. You have the other side that I'm personally kind of jealous of, that gets to go travel, and you design your lifestyle around what you want your business to look like, not the other way around. Whereas most people think that, yeah, man, I want to go do this business and build this and blah, blah, blah. And that's cool, and that gives people purpose. I'm one of those people.
Yeah.
But you're like, man, F it. I want to go travel. I want to do this.
Yeah.
I want to go see this place.
Yeah.
Like, what made you like that, man?
Yeah, I think a couple of things. I mean, my first 5 years in the business was kind of tough, man. I mean,
actually, wait, before you get into that, what do you do for all our listeners?
Okay,
introduction.
Everyone's
wondering, who's Donald Payne? What does he do?
So I thought they already knew. This
is the Donald Payne.
I live in Columbus, Ohio. I'm a real estate agent for 10 years, investor for 7 years. I've wholesaled, flipped. I've done a little bit of commercial. I've done owner finance, lease option. I've done almost everything you can do within real estate for the most part. I'm a landlord as well. I've done over 1,000 transactions in the business. I've sold bulk bank property, short sales, done a little bit of everything, right? And where I'm at now is I'm flipping houses. I'm a realtor. I do a little bit of wholesaling, and I'm buying rental properties. That's the main things that I do now. I love to travel. That's who Donald Payne is.
You do everything.
I love to buy rental properties, and I love to travel.
That's it.
See, I love to do both those things too.
Yeah.
I just, I just don't travel enough.
It's coming soon.
Yeah.
It's coming soon.
No, not soon. I got a baby.
Yeah,
You're going nowhere for a little bit.
I ain't going nowhere but the doctor and Goo Goo Gaga.
You're traveling to Myers and Walmart for a little bit.
18 months.
I tell you what.
Target.
So here's one dream.
Moved up in the world.
One dream I got. So I'm gonna share it with you because I know this is gonna be applicable to you and to you guys too here very soon, right? So when I call it growing up, the stage of life you're in now is called being grown, right? In my life, like right now I'm not growing up, right?
Okay.
My wife and kids, you're growing up, right? You gotta handle a bunch of serious stuff. So when so one day when I grow up, one of my dreams is that my kids 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years old, whatever, we're gonna do the RV thing for 6 months, and I'm gonna take them on an American history tour around the country, homeschool, the whole 9 yards, the Liberty Bell, the Gullah Islands down in South Carolina. Take them to the Rushmore out there in the Dakotas. You know, just go see everything, right? It might be 6 months, might be a year, I don't know.
Okay, so that's been one of my things as well. I've always wanted to do that. Like if there's one place or one national park, so I have one of those national park passports. If there's one national park you can go to, which one are you going to?
It's going to be a choice between two, right?
Not me, man.
Because I don't know that many, but I would say Yellowstone or the Redwoods. It's gonna be Yellow or the Redwoods. I gotta see.
Yeah.
Before I check.
Just so vast and big. I mean, that just covers so much. You know, one of them has to be one of those.
And I'm gonna do it Bobby's way. I'm gonna get me a Jeep Wrangler with differential transmission, whatever, and we're gonna really ride in that thing. You know, we're gonna really get after it.
See, like for me, so I've been to probably 12 or so.
Yeah.
And the ones I've been to are the easy ones, like Cuyahoga. Like, by the way, that doesn't even count. Or like Great Sand Dunes of Indiana. Like, no one's going to Indiana for a national park.
You did.
I wouldn't know if my brother didn't live in Cuyahoga Falls.
Dude, it was
There's a
trash.
park there, national
garbage.
Park? Like Cuyahoga, Cleveland?
Dude,
I didn't know that either.
Dude, we're from Ohio. And like,
dude, we should go. Let's go check it out.
I'm down, bro.
I just want to see it now. Now it's interesting. This was you didn't know it existed.
Garbage.
That's what makes me want to see it more.
Garbage.
All right, he's
garbage.
But it's not like like you think of a national park, right? Yeah.
Y'all need to go to the Great Mound, Silver Mound, Newark.
Ooh.
Yeah. You should check that out.
You check that out.
I did that in college.
Wait, is Put-in-Bay a national park?
It's a national monument. See?
This is gonna be the common belief, man. This guy is wild.
Actually, I want to go into that, man. So we've known each other we actually met in Vegas.
Yeah.
At one of my it was
that's
my
a national park, by the way.
It was
Vegas.
my first real estate event I've ever been to in my entire life. It was December of 2016. Went with Austin Rutherford and Aaron McDaniel, and you happened to be there. It was you and Aaron Sagai.
Yes, sir.
And I was like, holy shit, how do I not know you?
Yeah.
You know, and I remember we smoked cigars.
Yeah.
I think that's back when you were a cigar guy. And like we just hung out for like 3 hours. I was like, man, this dude is amazing. This dude's awesome.
Yeah.
And like he's in my backyard. I had to go all the way to Vegas just to meet this guy.
I met a lot of people out of town that I should have met here. I agree.
It was weird. Columbus is a bigger town than you think.
You think just because everywhere you go.
I know. But like even in real estate, like there's people we run into all the time. I'm like, man, we go to events all the time. How have I never run into you?
Yeah.
But it's just like the community is a lot bigger than we think.
Yeah, I think the community is a lot bigger, and I think too the players, maybe the active players that we know. That may change.
We get comfortable in our big circle. That's it.
Probably our age.
Because 2016, when he's talking about, I really wasn't that much of a player at that time. You know what I mean? I was an agent, but I wasn't really like I was still figuring out my way.
But dude, you spoke the lingo. You carried your like I will say this.
He always carries himself.
I know, right?
Well, always comes tucked. You know what I mean?
Aren't you supposed to unbutton when you sit down?
Not the top button.
Not anymore.
Okay,
says no. We don't do it.
My bad. My bad.
How many times do you wear a suit? How many does he? Listen to him.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
D-Payne 2032.
You wore a suit for your wedding, and that was it. The only time I've ever seen you in a suit.
How many suits do I own?
Just your wedding
Probably
suit. And your birthday suit.
You silly, bro.
I got two. But yeah, man. So we met back then, and it was it was cool, man. Like I didn't know you. Like we've been friends since then. You know, someone I've looked up to in a lot of ways, and I hope
vice versa.
Yeah,
for sure.
And but so you know, we've been to a lot of events together. You know, I've started throwing my own events. I started putting on my own masterminds. Started doing my own community thing. You know, we have mentorships and stuff now. And you actually came to one of our events in Put-in-Bay, Ohio.
Oh man.
In Put-in-Bay.
Great times.
And oh yeah, great times. Yeah,
Great
yeah.
times.
We know it was a great time.
All we know is D-Payne
I
came,
think, I
did his
think
thing,
the
and bounced.
entire, I think the entire island knew that you had a good time. Yeah, me too. Me too.
Hey, not
was
too,
fun.
not too much, not too
Yeah.
much.
But no, like talk about like because it was my first time on a private jet too.
Yeah.
Talk about that experience a little bit.
Yeah, that was awesome, man. I'll be real, you know, at the time that he hit me up and said, hey, you getting on this jet? My money was a little funny at the time. You know how we all go through seasons like that.
Yeah, the weird thing is my saving and my checking, they're not linked, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what I say.
Yeah, my money was a little funny. I was like, man, I think I'm gonna skip this. But I'm so glad I paid for that, did that. That experience was so cool. Taking off on the jet, hour and a half later, or less than an hour or something, we were there and did it on the way back. The only part I didn't like was Bobby driving that boat.
VIP experience,
Yeah,
by the way,
listen.
for our listeners. VIP experience.
If anything you
other
need,
than the
you need to
boat.
know about me is me and water are trying to get into a better relationship. And I don't know how I agreed to be on some boat with Bobby driving.
Bro, if that wasn't me, it would have been worse. So you're lucky that was me.
And listen,
Not true.
listen, on the way to the house, it was fine. On the way back, it was choppy as heck. And I was scared as
We
heck.
were in 5-foot waves.
And
by the way.
listen, bro, what? We're talking about this thing was at least 2-3 feet miles down or something.
Submarine, bro.
Listen,
Submarine.
Listen, I was scared as heck. But either way, after about 20 minutes, I overcame it, became He-Man, and when I was ready to...
I did that for you, Donald. I wanted you to overcome your fear. And you just said you want to be one with the water, so I wanted to bring you close to the water. And
I gotta get
Yeah,
better.
I wanted to-
gotta
you
get
wanted
better
to put you
swimming
over.
first.
part of the experience, man. That's what you paid for.
I paid for that. I didn't pay for that.
Dude, those pictures of you in the life vest are
Oh, you got pictures?
priceless.
I thought he was kidding. He's like, I need a life vest on. I'm like, oh, he's messing around. He's like, no, really?
No, bro. I need a life vest, bro. Yeah, there's no point in checking out if I didn't have
But
to.
did you fall?
I mean, I need two, so I mean, I feel you there.
Man, the
I
only
said like
time
a
I was
rock.
that scared, bro, I was in the Gulf of Mexico with
Everyone almost dies there.
yeah, with Charles, and bro, we were deep sea fishing, and bro, no waves were taking the boat sideways, bro. I was like, I started praying, bro. I was praying like, yeah,
Wait, on my
I started
boat on the West Coast.
I started asking for forgiveness and everything, like, yo, God, like, I'm sorry, and just
Yo, God, I'm sorry, man. Dude.
Bro, I literally thought I was
6 ounce baby Jesus.
Bro, listen, I thought I was a rap, bro. I'm telling you, that was serious. But yeah, man, yeah. So we known each other for
Yeah.
a good bit of
Good
time, man.
times.
Going back to the boat, though,
Yeah,
was it a good experience?
the boat.
I just got to know.
Yeah, the whole trip was a good experience. The boat, I'm gonna have to get at. Because it's yours and the fact that you got a great deal on it, I love that.
The
But I
SSA,
gotta,
man.
But this guy driving, I gotta get that thing maybe a C plus. Everything else is A. But that because that was
That's like
fleeing.
some C+ real estate, right?
Oh man,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. Oh, that's golden.
He's like, I like that a lot better.
That's a compliment.
At least I
Thank
know I'm
you.
making money with that.
Hey, listen, this C
Cash
plus
flow.
real estate, I'm with that absolutely all day.
No, I think the funniest part about the boat didn't even happen to you. Is when the chair fell underneath Terry Thayer and he went,
Oh,
boom.
bro, he
And
almost
I was still
spilled, bro.
going full speed. I was like, stop, slow down before we lose Terry. I'm like, oh crap, it's fun.
Bro, yeah, bro, that was wild, man.
I thought he was gonna fall out.
Bro, the guy was
I had no idea. I was like, Bobby. I'm like, what? Oh shit.
and the motor's back there. So.
I'm telling
Yeah.
you, Puddin' Bay takes lives, man.
Does it
that
really?
place.
Does it really? People were dying?
Hold the
It
ship.
is.
That's what they say.
Don't give
Yeah,
up.
bro,
Don't give
you
up
can't
the
be-
shit.
You can't be talking to me like that. Like, hey.
Donnie's like, I
bro,
really gotta pray.
Like, nah, bro, you won't see me next year.
Good job, Brian. You
I
got it.
don't believe that.
Dude, going into real estate though, like you started, basically 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, like now is a very interesting time.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Very interesting, and I'm curious to see how this all plays out because
Yeah.
you know when you go to 2008, 2009, up until maybe even 2013. Today, like you just can't. It's not apples to apples, and it never is. You know, we always want to say, "Oh, history." It does repeat itself to some degree, but
Yeah.
it's not apples to apples.
Yeah.
So, like someone starting out today, like what would you say? What would you say to them now?
Yeah.
Because shit's different.
Yeah, it is.
It's different, man.
Yeah, it is. So I've been talking to a lot of young investors, young agents, things like that, and they've been talking about the last 2 years, which to me, the last 2 years was kind of too easy, right? And like,
Anyone could do it.
yeah, anybody could do it, but also personally, I felt like it was just things were coming, right?
Yeah.
And money was cometh, right? But now, to me, it's a true hustle.
Yes, you got a phone call.
You got to make the phone calls. You got to take the phone calls. You got to answer the phone.
Take the phone.
You got to do the work.
Customer
You got to
service.
chase people down. You got to do all the things that are necessary for you to be successful. And if you don't know those things, you need to get educated on those. But it's just one of those things where I think right now it's just truly a hustle. And another thing we were talking about a little bit for the cash start is for some of my young investors, I need you to hear me really clearly on this part right here. If it looks like
to the camera.
if it looks like you're going to take a loss on the deal, if it looks like that, take the loss quickly and move on to another deal. The longer you prolong that loss, the more it's going to hurt. The longer it's going to take you to recover from it. Take a loss, move on, and get to the next deal. Because a lot of us, myself included, and maybe even Terry too, I don't know, we bought some stuff when the market was hot earlier this year, February, March, April, up until May.
Yep.
We might have overpaid for it. Now we're trying to sell it this time of a year, and our ARV dropped by 10-15%, and now the profit we're not gonna make anymore. I need to get off that property, that debt, that private money, that whatever, and then recycle it back into the market and seek to make money.
So this is something I said on our Scalers Only call. We have a mastermind group we run every Wednesday at 4, and we were talking about this exact same thing. And it's like, when you're faced with that decision, when do you know when to cut the cord, when enough is enough, and when to try to pivot? When do you know? Or is it like something that you have to be a business owner, you have to be savvy, you have to be instinctful?
Yeah.
Or is it something where hey, when this happens, then X happens? Are you more meticulous in that regard? Or would you say that, hey, you just need to have some business savvy to you?
So I would love to be more meticulous and have more business savvy, but we all get emotional about our money, right? And the longer you've been, the longer you've been in the business, hopefully, the more you actually pay attention to your spreadsheets and you follow your formulas, or if you're a prior engineer, you probably don't have any problem with this, but the majority of us get emotional. My biggest thing I tell you is what I personally have done just even the other day. I went out and sought advice from well-trusted counsel and said, is this a smart decision or this is not, or what I need to do? And they said, you need to cut it. So I'm cutting it. I'm following the advice. And I'm resetting.
You need to cut it.
Yeah. So that's my thoughts. Is you get emotional about the money, you get emotional about your situation. Go talk to somebody that knows, and then listen to their instruction and move on.
It's hard.
Set a plan. Set a plan and a stop loss. If it comes down to something, don't make it emotional. Just set a plan and stick to it and carry through and move on to the next.
I mean, and I said, Bobby, you've been a business owner over 20 years, right? And a very successful.
Emotional, well, screw you. We've all done it. But
exactly.
You got to set the plan, and no matter what, if it hits something I don't want to, but I set a plan, I got to follow it, go through it, and you'll thank yourself later.
Thank you.
It's hard for people to admit that they made a mistake, and that's kind of what you're doing by.
And then when you make the
loss,
mistake,
right?
so
you have hope that I'm going to make it back or something, but you can't go off the hope.
Yeah.
Hope don't pay the bills.
See, in perfect situation, I'm telling you about my own personal situation. I'm selling off some properties that I flipped, wanting to rent them or whatever the case may be. But I need to go ahead and balance my books better. You know what I'm saying? I need to pay off some debt. I need to go ahead and throw that money into some other properties, opportunities that are going to be cheaper. But it was a hard decision because some of these properties were in great locations, right? But just like when I've heard you talk many times, when you look at your portfolio, you look at the numbers and then you cut whichever one. It doesn't matter if it's in the best location or not. You might sell a property in Gulfport, but keep the property in Linden. It's based on the numbers.
It's all numbers, man. It's so as a business owner, I always look at not the return on investment, because it's very, very. That's like a hustler mentality. You got to look at your return on equity globally between all of your businesses, all of your properties, all of your interests. So if there's something that's taking too much of your time and it only makes X amount of money, well, guess what? You got to cut this business, even though but if you see potential and blah, 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 right? I mean, there's some of those things you kind of have to go through. But if you got a property, for instance, and I don't know, it's too much maintenance or wrong part of town or the neighbor sucks or whatever, you got to cut it.
No,
you got to cut it out.
No, on that case right there, can we bring up a little story on your behalf?
I don't care.
Talk to them about pigskin, man.
Be honest, man.
Talk to them about pigskin.
Man,
how that you saw the potential?
That was in your backyard, by the way.
In Gahanna.
I love it. I mean, literally right beside your high school.
It was.
I mean, I had the wrestling coaches coming in, the football coaches coming in, and it just didn't work out. I thought brewery football.
That's a good story.
Yeah.
Thought it was gonna be a good idea.
Yeah.
And then
It wasn't.
You know what? It wasn't. Especially
But you learned.
But tell
But
me,
you have expensive lessons. All it is.
$184,000 later.
Expensive lessons.
But Terry,
And that was like 7 years ago. That was all the money I had.
But Terry, here's what I wanted to learn from that experience, though, right? Because I think I did the same thing. You did that when you were flush with cash or something, right? You did that when you were very optimistic, right?
Optimistic. I wouldn't say flush with cash.
Okay, so you were very optimistic.
Definitely wouldn't say flush with cash.
So me and my buddy were talking about this idea of overreaching, right? When we're optimistic, we start grabbing for more. Doesn't mean we can handle it all, right? So, and then unraveling for that is a whole recovery process.
Mm-hmm.
But talk to me, man. You know, what made you go into that, right? And then what made you finally decide, I need to get out of it?
So again, and that's why I asked you the question beforehand: is it something that's on a spreadsheet or is it business savvy? I can tell you, 2 weeks into that deal, I went on I had this wedding that I had to go to. It was our best, and it was some of the people. Man, I've never told this before, but let's be honest, right? So we go on this. It's one of my guys' weddings, and he was best friends with a couple of the guys I started that brewery with.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're all there. We're not at the brewery.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I just knew the way the bank account was rolling, the way the sales was rolling. I knew in my heart of hearts, 2 weeks in, it was a bad deal. I needed to get out.
Yeah.
And so that's why I asked you the question, is it business savvy or do you look at your spreadsheets and how do you determine how to pivot in your investments in the market with everything that you do?
Yeah.
And so I guess for you, man, especially moving forward, the next 6, 12, 18 months, I mean, everyone's talking about it. We got this recession coming on. We got rates that's still going to go up, maybe another percent and a half, maybe potentially.
I agree, yeah.
So how do you pivot? What do you say to somebody that's listening to this, man, that's a newbie, maybe in the real estate space, for instance? And they're like, man, they've seen all these people making all this money for the last 6 to 12 months.
Yeah.
What would you say to someone like that that's seen that, but then it's going into this market?
I personally think that right now is a great opportunity to buy something at a great discount.
It is.
Especially
And if not, it will be.
Especially even a move-in ready property, right? I personally do think that rates are probably going to go towards 8%. And I think Q1 of next year, the federal government may buy its own bonds and artificially float the rate down back towards 6, and hopefully we get to 5 by Q2 next year.
Yeah,
that's my prediction.
They'll
right?
have to at some point.
Yeah, that's my prediction. Plus, we're going into election season in 2023, in fall 2023. So I think they're going to have to lower interest rates and gas prices at that time. I think springtime, people are always buying and selling in springtime, always, every year. Even back in 2012 when I got started, in 10, when my dad was still running, people were always still buying in the spring. So I think that there is still money out there for people that want to flip. I think rent is going very strong. I think you're going to pay a heck of a lot on your interest rate right now if you hold. But I still think there's opportunity in the market. And personally, I got some stuff to sell, so I'm still going to sell. I'm still going to flip. And I'm still going to keep being a realtor. And I'm still going to keep buying rentals.
Would you stick when the market hits like that, does it hit every neighborhood, or would you start buying in the nicer areas, or maybe you stick to the lower areas because you can get them for cheaper? I guess what's the better play?
And maybe the people that thought that they were going to buy X now have to buy Y. What would you do?
Oh, you're right. So a lot of buyers, because interest rate with their affordability has went down, but I will tell you what I'm seeing personally, in all the suburban markets, properties are still selling very rapidly. Oh yeah,
okay.
And multiple offers. If the property is clean and priced right, it's going. I got suburban buyers right now getting outbid. I got a buyer right now.
Not by hedge funds though.
By other buyers. Hedge funds are going.
Isn't that great?
I do like it.
Isn't that amazing? That was a huge problem, and you know how much of a problem I have with that.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, I'm gonna drop an F-bomb, but I fucking hate it.
Yeah.
I fucking hate the fact that we have all of these massive funds coming in, buying swarms of houses, creating their own comps, doing this whole thing, and then shutting a bunch of people out.
Normal people can't.
Yeah, no,
Can't buy.
I'm serious.
First home buyers,
And they were getting. I mean, we had friends that were getting outbid by Like, they were coming in fourth place bidding 30, 40 grand over asking.
Absolutely.
And, they were already setting asking above the last highest sale in the neighborhood.
And that's the point I'm making now. For some of the buyers who've been sitting on the sidelines, they need to buy right now and refinance next year.
100%.
Now, again,
If you
I 100% agree because they're going to come back in, and when they do,
it's the price.
they're not
the price is
selling
going back
houses.
up. No, the price is going to go back up. Look, we act like we're still in. We act like we're going to a high inventory market. We're not. Yeah, we were at a month inventory. Now we're at 3.5 months. When I got started, we were at 6.5 months inventory. You see what I'm saying? So,
dude, that's so true.
So
can you say that again?
Look, we act like we're going toward a high inventory market, right? And if for those that don't know what inventory means, this is what it means: the amount of houses selling every month. If we have 6,000, if we have 3,000 houses selling per month, 6,000. We need 6,000 houses on the market. That's 2 months of inventory, right? In 2 months, if no new houses come on the market, 2 months later, we're out of houses to sell, right? What happened right now, we're at 3.5 months. All it is now we have, I think, 7,000 houses on the market. Previously, we were selling 3,200 houses a month. Now I think we're selling around 2,000 houses a month. That's where we get the 3.5 months right there. So the point I'm making is, all that went down is some of the sales have slowed. Yes, this is definitely happening, but we haven't dramatically increased the amount of houses.
But doing quick math here, that drops prices about 10 to, according to my quick brain, 10 to 12.5%.
Yeah, but the main area that's getting dropped in is in D class.
That's why I was asking.
B and A aren't really changing. They're not changing. There's still multiple offers in B and A.
So I can tell you this: where I live, personally, I would consider a very A-class
Where
area.
we live.
Congratulations.
You just got a house over there, man?
Yeah, you did.
You're hilarious for that.
He just moved like literally a block down the road. I can't get away from this motherfucker.
But
Like,
but the property you're mentioning that you're about to talk about, what is the condition of it?
exactly. So in those, but in those areas where you have, $1 million, $2-3 million houses, it doesn't matter what it looks like because everyone's trying to get in there.
Everyone wants to be there.
Especially in that neighborhood.
Yeah.
You're like,
School districts are a big,
School district is everything.
it's a big play.
Especially right now.
I mean, dude, like that's why I'm where I'm at.
Yeah.
School district, 100%.
Yeah.
I'm
And listen, let's also say
I'm
this,
paying for your kids.
By being in this particular school,
Yeah, your taxes need to go up.
by being in a particular school district too, it almost puts you in a certain network as well. It's like being a member of the country club,
Yeah, it
But
is.
so certain school districts for sure. But that's beside the point. The point we're making is that I think a lot of people are freaking out, especially a lot of the young investors. They were flipping in D class. They're flipping in the hood, and it was very profitable to do so. And the hood got hit hard. I told you guys a story. I was selling a house. I thought ARVs maybe around 170, 175. I listed at 180.
Those of you guys listening from California, this is in Ohio. But just want to put that out there.
175. That's my burger price. What's that place that everyone eats
What
at
it
up
takes
there?
to have
In-N-Out.
In-N-Out. It's my In-N-Out bill.
In-N-Out. That's funny. But it's also D class too. But either way, I buy it for I think 75. Put 50 in it, 125, and then of course holding costs, this that, and the other, right? I put it on the market at 189 just to test it, and I'll drop it by 5 every week just to test it, right? I just wanted to see what happened because the interest rate was still 3.5 at the time. End of the day, it changed 3.5 to 6 in like 30 days. The property doesn't really sell. Also too because of parking, there was a parking issue there, and now I'm selling it for like 143.
Dude, I have the same thing you do literally on Taylor Road or Taylor Avenue.
Yep.
Nate Price is helping me out with that one. Thank you, Nate. But
Yeah.
literally same thing, dude. Like we had it up there and everything was right, and then literally you just saw it fall within and
So talking about challenges, I mean,
Yeah.
like there's some challenges to be faced right now, man.
Yeah.
So up until this point, man, going back to you, like what has been one of your biggest challenges to date,
Man.
personally and professionally?
Yeah, I think one of my biggest ones has been financial management. When I was broke, and then managing when I had some money. Because when you got money, you want to spend, right? And when
I
you
mean, it's what Cardone always talks about, right? Oh, you got money, you got to empty out your bank account. Right?
empty it out on the right thing.
Sorry, Grant.
Yeah,
you do.
so I think that's been one of my biggest challenges. I think my personal biggest challenges is saying yes to too many things, being too spread out. Too spread out. And that's one thing I actually really been working on a lot in the last.
It's hard when you have a big network because you got a lot of people.
Dude, I
asking
will
you
say that
questions.
about, like, I always see you out with people. You're always here. You're always, Like you're always with people.
Yeah.
You know, like regardless whether it's lunch, and that's probably what's made you so successful.
It's definitely been one of the biggest drivers.
I mean, like, man, dude, with the suit in Columbus, Ohio, no one wears a suit unless they're by the steakhouse. Like, I'm serious, man.
You see how he's putting in plugs every time?
Hey,
Did you see
like,
that?
you know where I'm going with that, and I'm just like, I get it, man. Dude, you're plugging your future already, you know.
Hey, if you run,
Plug it,
we get to put a logo on.
Listen,
the back.
man, I just
On
want
one of the t-shirts.
I just want to be your first sponsor, you know.
Oh, man.
So why aren't you running for office yet?
Yeah.
Man, there's a lot of life to live, and that puts your life under quite a microscope, man. So I still need to make some money.
You're cool being under a microscope, though.
I need to make some more money before I get into public service. Because either the office is serving you, or you're serving the office.
So I heard something the other day. Patrick Bet-Davids, he's like, man, you go on these runs, right? You go on this like 10-year run or 20-year run, and then you maybe it's business. Maybe it's family, maybe it's philanthropy, maybe it's public service, maybe it's politics. But you have these runs, but you have to make sure that, hey, I'm going to give this a season of my life. Remember we talked
I love that talk.
Right?
You need to recut that on here.
7 years, and you go through a season, and then you're like, man, if this business didn't work out, but you got to give the business enough legs to grow. And by saying like, man, I'm in it for a year, and we talked about that business. I knew 2 weeks in that it wasn't going to work.
Yeah.
I just knew it wasn't going to work. But like, I also didn't give it enough time to maybe go either. But it was going downhill pretty quick. But I mean, like, you got to give something enough time to actually gain some traction, right?
Yeah.
Even this podcast. Let's talk about this podcast. I mean, we have to give it enough time in order for
show.
Thank you. This show.
Let's be honest, it's both. It's everything. It's the podcast show.
It's the podcast show.
Hey,
it's the show pod.
He's the show spell check.
It's a showcast.
You know how you get that
spell check.
So
sorry. Let me
THEIR, not Y''RE.
So
we got paintings falling, phones vibrating.
But you know what?
It.
That's what we do.
Yeah,
that's how we
That's
operate.
everything in between.
So Terry, one big thing you're totally right about is seasons. And I was talking to another young guy the other day, and I've been a realtor 10 years, and it's a family business, right? And they say, like, what kept you in there longer? What kept you there so long? And of course, family was a big piece. The only time I wanted to quit was 2015, right? It was the only year that I ever thought about quitting the business. After that, I never thought about it again.
It's 2015?
2015.
Why?
I was working really, really hard, and I'll give you examples.
Just burnout?
Yeah, and I felt like, why am I not making $100,000? Like, we're working 70, 80 hours a week, and we're doing bank property, and we're selling a bunch of houses for the bank, and I'm selling a bunch of houses to investors, doing this, doing that. Like, I just can't. I don't understand, why am I not making $100,000? Like, why am I not making good money? Why am I not living good? Like, I didn't need a nice car, I didn't need none of that stuff, but why am I not making the money I need to make? I just felt this burn, like, why? Like, why not? And I felt like I see other people step into the business and they're making $100,000 their first year easy, right? And that by this time it's my 2.5, third year in the business, and I'm like, man, this sucks. So then 2016, and also too, I felt like we needed to make some changes as a company. I feel like we need to make some changes, and as an executive team, we weren't all there yet to do that, right? 2016 rolls around, I travel for 60 days out of that year, and again, not consecutively, but different trips, and I made the same money I made in 2015, and I learned something right there. Like, that's when I had that lifestyle epiphany that I need to just travel. I need to do these things. That the money doesn't need to be you
don't need to have private jet money.
Driving force.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be
owning private jet money. You don't to be able to do the things that you want to do.
Yeah, you don't.
And those are the things that most people that fantasize about owning a private jet actually fantasize about is the freedom,
the travel, the travel. And here's the thing, one of my goals is to be like Ohio Home. Is to be like Tarry Summers and have a bigger team, right? Therefore, I can definitely travel even more, right? That you can trust. Because even the relationship you guys got, man, that's a beautiful thing, There's a beautiful book. It's called Die with Zero. It was one of the biggest game changers for me. Yeah. And
the premise of the book, if you guys haven't read the book, I don't want to give the whole thing away, but there is this pyramid of life to where when you're very young, your utility of money is very high.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, you're cool with sleeping on the couch. You're cool with, you know, going to the club at 3 a.m., waking up for work at 6 a.m.
Yeah.
You know, by the time you get to 35, that ain't cool anymore.
Shit, could you
Yeah.
imagine
You know what I
doing
mean?
that right now?
Hell no. Hell no, bro.
I'd have
You
bags
know,
on
like
bags
I'm
on bags.
I'm out. I need 2 days. But you know, at 35, you know, you've gained a little bit of money.
Yeah.
You've gained some time. You still have a little bit of youth, so you kind of have this perfect bucket. You know, in between. You know, I think the book says like 32 to like maybe 45, 50. You have the perfect utility of enough money, enough health, youth, and time to be able to utilize all three. But then again, you see that 80-year-old dude that's getting out with his cane out of a Ferrari. The utility of money, he just wants more time.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And so I think you've understood that at a very young age, which is amazing. You know, and most people would die to have that type of freedom and have those types of experiences.
Yeah, and I think this kind of goes back to one thing that I highly value, and this can be a two-edged sword, right? Is valuing relationships. I love people, and I love relationships. You know, one of the biggest reasons I travel is to see friends, family, church members, whoever, across the world, across the country. You know, I've been into West Africa twice, but I was with friends that I have. And one of my best friends I've known since 2nd grade, he's Nigerian. I went to Nigeria with him twice.
Man,
right?
how important are relationships to help you just jump levels
Yeah.
without having to go through as much pain as the person that actually did it, right?
Listen, for all my realtors out there, the referral business is the best business to be in, right? Where people refer you to other people, right? And also, too, when friends say, hey, I just wanted you to meet this other person. You may not even do business with them. Like, you introduced me to Jason. Said, hey, I want you to just meet this guy. I think just be a great relationship.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's the thing, too, is like, you just never know where things end up. You don't always have to do business together now. You might do the business together 10, 20 years from now, right?
I just know that in 10 years, that's probably going to be one of your best connects. You like how I always plug it, right?
You always plug
I'm
it.
always plugging it because I see it, man. I see it.
So
I mean, you're polished as all get out, man.
So I did
Yeah, you are.
talk to an old head about it, right? I went to talk to old head because you were giving me so much quality grief about it. I had to go talk to old head and get their advice, right? Because I know that old head been there, done that before.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, hey, what do you think, old head? And he said, man, you know,
He calls his dad old head.
well, it's not even my dad, but this.
Because that's what happened to you now.
But my dad, he can call him old head too.
Yeah.
But long story short, their advice was this. They said, Donald, in your youth, you need to go ahead and get some money, enjoy your family life, all that stuff. Some of that stuff out the way. Whatever comes out the closet, comes out the closet. But you can have a very successful career in doing that if you want to do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's one of those things that he said, get some things out the way first before doing that. And I think that was smart, right? So
I think it's true, man. Yeah, seasons.
seasons.
I
I think you need to go ahead and talk about that fully, man, because that conversation that we had on the beach.
When was that?
It was on the beach in Dominican.
That's
2020,
right. That's right.
February.
That's right.
I was shooting my own podcast with no mics on a windy beach, right? And
My wife was there.
And your
Well, not
wife-
that wife at the time, but yeah.
and your wife,
Hey, by any means.
she
You know what I mean?
they both did a great job speaking. One thing you talked about, and I'll recap it and let you speak more on it, but talk about the seasons of life, how everything's in 7-year seasons, ups and downs, right? And whatever season you may be in, because now you're in a child rearing season.
Dude, it's completely different. I mean, you remember 4 years ago, 4.5 years ago, you came to this office.
Yep.
And it was probably one of the lowest points in my life. It wasn't the lowest point,
Yeah.
but it was one of the lowest. And you're like, you thought I had my shit together.
Yeah.
I just bought this building. I bought another 36 unit, 16 unit. Was living on credit cards. Was living literally in a mattress on the floor in my office.
Yes, sir.
And had employees.
Yeah.
And they had no idea.
Yep.
And it was rough. And I'm like, I'm down to like my last 10 grand in my bank account, which for me at that point, like that, I mean,
Tell them how many properties you had.
$170,000 in credit card debt. I had 99 units.
I think it was 160 units.
Might have been.
I think it was 160
Might
units.
have been. Well, with that 36 unit, 60, yeah.
Yeah.
But I had just taken those on.
He
Yeah,
wasn't
yeah.
getting much sleep on those mattresses.
Dude,
Yeah.
he was.
He couldn't even sleep in his own units.
But at that point, I was just like, shit. Like, you think I have it all together, and you're like, T, what's wrong? What's wrong? You're sitting across the table from me, and I tried to put this desk together like I had something special.
Yeah.
Like I got my desk in the front office, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, dude, I'm just going to level with you. Life sucks.
Yeah.
This is terrible. This is where I'm at. And then next month I had a check for like $469,000.
Oh yeah.
So like shit changed real quick, but I knew it was going to happen. It just
you had to.
nothing timed up. You know what I'm saying? Life wise, money wise, business wise, nothing timed up. And I think that's a part of life is, you know, nothing's going to time up the way that you think that it is. You got to weather some storms. You're going to have some challenges.
Perspective, man. In reality, you kind of did have your shit together. You just didn't know it.
Maybe.
Because you know what? Somebody else was in that position. 0 properties, even less.
For sure.
So it's all perspective and how you are, you know, the way you look at it. And that's why if you hold yourself to a higher standard.
But going back to that conversation, like, you thought I had it all together. I didn't.
Yeah.
And so, you know, people look at you from the outside. Like, outside looking in now, I mean, you're always in a suit, bro.
Yeah.
Always
You're
in a
the
suit.
mayor, man.
People
see us, Donald Payne, the mayor.
Hey, listen, we're not digging get there. We're eventually going to dig and get there. But, you know, people think that you have it all together.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, what would you say has been like some of your toughest moments where you're like, man, I ain't got it all together?
Yeah. I think that some of my toughest moments have been bouncing checks to contractors, man.
Yeah.
You know, and having to tell them, oh, give me another day, and then I put the money in the account, and I'm just shuffling money to make things happen. You know, and I think that, you know, that story is not that old, right? And I think that, you know, some of the toughest moments have been when I got into that type of credit card debt that you talked about.
I remember you telling us about that.
Yeah, and I sat here and said, man, like, I'm not really a friend of debt like that. You know, I'm not used to having that type of debt. I'm not used to managing that, especially mentally. Because the way I grew up, man, I didn't take kindly to debt mentally, right? And I think that I had a couple.
You had a huge problem with debt.
Yeah.
You were not a Kiyosaki fan.
No.
You liked the cash flow game, but you were not a Kiyosaki fan.
You're 100% right.
Yeah.
The debt would, and I think still at times now, I still kind of go through things in my head like about debt and stuff. I still think about paying off all the properties and stuff. Seriously, man.
Like, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
Bruh.
And here's the thing. You and I have had many conversations about that. 30, 40 units paid off. 300-400 with finance. We talk about it all the time, man, because I might decide to do that type of business and life because I might go in different directions in my life.
I remember you telling me that. That's what your ultimate goal was, to have 40-ish paid in full.
But also too,
Dreams like that.
Yeah.
I don't think that you want this, and again, it goes back to freedom.
It's what you want in your
lifestyle, which is what this podcast is about, lifestyle, freedom, and all this stuff.
Yeah.
Or do you want to build this massive conglomerate business that, I mean, yeah, you can elevate out of that, right?
Yeah.
But it's ultimately going to consume you, like an Elon Musk or like a Jeff Bezos.
Yeah, well, yeah.
And it's like everyone thinks that they have it all figured out, but Elon, from sun up to sundown, he works.
Yeah.
If you look at Steve Jobs' last words, you know, his last words were "wow." Apparently, his sister said. But anyone else that on Google is like, his last words were like this whole poem of, you know, I can't, you know, the wine still gets you drunk, you know, no matter, you know, if it's a $200 bottle or a $10 bottle, you know, all these things. It's like the car you drive, you know, doesn't matter if it, you know, is, you know, $10,000 or $100,000. It's going to get you to the same place at the same speed because you got to follow the speed limit. Like, everything's the same. So it's just like, you know, which path do you take?
Yeah.
Which path do you want to have?
And with your influence, with other, you know, iconic influences that are in my life, I've played with that idea of getting 100. We even, on one of my podcast episodes, we talked about that because I was struggling with the idea of maybe doing that, and I think I came to the conclusion that the paid off path is what's for me, right? But we'll see when I get there. I might re-leverage them up and keep growing, right? But but I think for now, I think that's the path because I think that I'm looking forward to one day being in your stage of life. You know what I'm saying? And doing that RV tour and doing some other things that I want to do, and maybe going to public office, maybe doing some other things, maybe just teaching.
He said it. He said going into public
Yeah, I
office.
said maybe.
He
On
said
here
it.
first.
He said
On
it.
the show.
He said it.
I said maybe.
He
I
said it.
I said
I
maybe.
didn't hear maybe.
But look,
let's be honest.
But look,
We can edit that.
But look, but teaching. You silly man. Don't edit that.
By the time we get out of here, he's gonna be-
But teaching and helping people is something it's in the blood, man. My mom was a teacher. My dad loves to help people. It's definitely in the blood.
Okay, so you teach. Like,
Yeah.
what would you teach somebody?
Right now,
Like, what's your passion? Teaching passion.
Financial freedom, like financial wellness.
Why?
I love to see, because I personally believe that, like, if people just understood the power of their credit, and there used to be this club, and it might still be there at the Urban League, called the 700 Club. And what they were doing were taking people from the neighborhood, teaching them how to get 700 credit scores, right? And started by a friend of mine, Brandy Avery, right? And one of those things is that, like, if people understood that, how much less in interest they'd be paying, how they could even buy homes in their own neighborhood, how it would change people's lives. If they just understood that basic financial tool, which even myself, I started as a realtor, I didn't fully understand.
It's not
right?
taught.
It's not really taught, right?
It's not taught.
Dude, isn't that the biggest scam on the planet?
And normally you don't have finances. You don't have finances when you're 16, 17. So there's no reason for your parents to go over it with you. So it's not taught.
Or your parents
It's
are too
not.
busy.
Yeah, or they're too busy, right?
Yeah.
And then rent, by the way, is not calculated in your credit.
No, it's not. It
Kind of fucked up.
but rental. There's a company called Rental Karma, but like
It is kind of fucked up.
but if they did make rent hit your credit report, I think people would treat it a lot better. I think they would actually
There
pay
you
out.
Honestly, it'd probably help us out a lot.
Yeah, it would help.
Are you
collections.
have you considered using the Rental Karma thing for your tenants to help
Dude,
them?
this is the first I'm hearing of it.
Oh, really?
Yes.
So there's a company called Rental Karma, and the
Write
tenant
this down.
the tenant can pay. It'll be a part of like their rent a little bit. Like,
They report it. The company reports.
The company reports it. Reports their payments to the credit.
I don't know that our.
Let's be honest. Our tenants, I'll say,
Yeah,
some of them don't really get.
But maybe there's a select few that will.
But listen, it'd be one of those things that, again, I'm not saying that you offer it because I know the back end what that looks like to try to manage all that. But if, let's say with your CRM, if it was cool if they could click a button and select that service, just like rental insurance, if they could select that service, that would be amazing. In-house rental insurance, that type of thing.
Yes.
So yeah, they can select in-house rental insurance. They can select, I want my stuff reported to my credit bureau. If they have a plan of one day owning a home.
If there's no repercussions, then people will just do whatever they want.
If people know they're going to pay their bills,
Seriously.
absolutely.
That's why they treat rent so flippantly.
Yeah.
Because
I think that being that going on your rental report, because we're going to this thing called a social credit score. So hopefully maybe they make that part of that algorithm.
Is that how like credit unions work?
Yeah. So the social credit score is going to be the people you're connected to, as well as your credit report, as well as everything else you do in your life. It's going to be algorithms to where you're going to have what's called a social credit score.
So basically, you're the relationships that you've gained over your life.
Plus your credit score. Plus anything else you've done in your life.
I mean,
So they're like,
the way
what?
that
Oh, you
business has
hang
always
out
been
with
done.
these
No.
deadbeats? Nuh-uh.
Yeah. It's
And that's just a fancy way of saying this is the way business is done.
You're going to have what's called a social credit score.
Where
Because
we
even
heard
banks
this?
now will look up your LinkedIn or wherever you teach that. They'll
Dude,
like,
I teach that all the time. Like banks will literally look up how your LinkedIn. I try to look like you on LinkedIn. You know what I mean? I got the suit on.
No, you only have one suit. Remember?
So what about
It doesn't fit no
Yeah,
more.
but picture
all the
from
stuff I post?
2010.
What about all the stuff I post on LinkedIn? Is that good or bad? I don't know.
I think it's great.
I don't know if
But
they judge me for that.
Your
Bro,
social
I
credit
got-
score
I
is
got
pretty
comb
damn
over on
good.
LinkedIn.
Yeah, I'll say that much.
Terry's got a picture
That's a mayor
from
Payne.
2010.
You're good.
I hope so, man.
2017. Okay, it's 5 years old. I had a comb over.
You didn't have hair.
So wait, how's that even going to work? The social, yeah.
I
How are
can't-
they going to figure that out?
They can track a lot of stuff online, bro.
Yeah, dude. They can,
Think
come
about all
on.
the information with Facebook, Instagram, all that, and then think about all the apps we're using and the text messages.
So where'd you hear this? Like, where'd you? Is it?
I watch a lot of stuff. I love YouTube.
He's the mayor, bro. Just inside information we're getting over here.
Yeah, I mean, plus too, like you said, if you know a lot of people, they'll tell you what's coming. Just like this guy knows so much about the industry. So in these,
Damn, so you're even gonna get penalized for the people you roll with.
absolutely, absolutely.
That's
You
messed
absolutely
up. Crap. We're screwed.
But I mean, like, you call it what you want, but it's more of a traditional way of doing business, just with some type of algorithm behind it.
It used to be that way back in the day. that was more important. Who you know and how you
Yeah,
do it.
It's like,
walking
you
to get it.
A good handshake. Hey,
Yeah.
good. You know what? Isn't that? I vouch
It's
for
like,
you. I'll
boom,
vouch for my friend. We'll do business with him. Vouching, right?
That's it.
That's what that was.
But we kind of do a lot of that even in the real estate industry. Oh, Terry, do you know this person?
Yeah,
yeah, we
Donald,
still do.
you know this-
It's just going to be put into more of a formal and way to do it now. Like, I mean, however they run it.
How we doing over there?
We good. We
So,
got 2 cameras now, so we
okay.
can just keep going.
All right,
So here was a question I have for you. What's coming next down the real estate, industry? What do you think's next? I told you my prediction, but I'd like to hear yours as well.
I didn't get your full prediction though.
I said 8%. Hopefully get down to 6 and then to 5 next year. I think it's going to be business as usual in a way, but we need to for those that want to hustle and those that want to still buy.
So here, I mean, I don't have a crystal ball,
Yeah,
but here's what I do think.
talk to me.
I mean, if you look at the Fed's dot plot, they're not stopping.
Yeah.
Sure.
They're going to raise rates another percent in a
In like
quarter, another percent and a
3
half.
weeks.
Yeah, I mean, in January of next year. So I mean, like going into next year, I mean, rates are going to be in the 8s.
Yeah,
Like you're going to buy a house, you're going to pay 8%. So you're going to see a lot less activity. You're going to see, because of that, because houses are sitting more, prices are going to come down. I think you're also going to see people moving less. I think you're going to start seeing people shack up together, as opposed to, hey, I'm going to go rent my place. I'm just going to go move in with them. Here's the thing, like from a social standpoint, that I think you're also going to see. I remember people in 2011 and 12 staying together.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't a lot of divorced people renting properties.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're going to see a lot more people staying together purely for the financial
Just from a
aspect,
financial-
as opposed to, man, he did this, blah, blah, blah. You know what? I'm going to go move out on my own. Well, I can't go move out on my own. So, hey, you want to make this work? Cool.
Mm-hmm.
So I think socially, I think it's going to be a good thing, because you're going to see people start staying together
Mm-hmm.
with their kids in their lives. Like you're going to see more family units congregate because they need to financially.
Mm-hmm.
But I also
positive spin.
Dude, that's why you maybe get a
Very
place,
positive
big place next to him. I see what's going on now.
very positive.
I see what's
Listen,
going
I
on.
don't need a couch, motherfucker. I don't need no couch. I'm good. I'm good.
That's recorded
But-
too. I'll remember that.
But I think if you're an investor in this market, if you're an investor and you're savvy and you understand that creatively you can make money in any situation, and you see the opportunity, you're going to be good.
Yeah.
There's always a way to make money, whether the market's up, whether it's down. In
Business
stocks,
is business, bro.
in business,
People make money no
in
matter
real
what.
estate, whatever. There's always a play. There's never not a play. So there's always a
gotta
play.
find it.
You just have to find the play. And you have to exploit it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Not exploit.
I mean,
take
we talked
advantage
about
of
that
it.
today on our Scalers call. I mean, I don't want to give it up on this on this show, but the strategy that we're going to employ is, dude, it's going to be massively successful for us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's going to be massively successful for the people that we bring into it.
Yeah.
It's going to be great.
It's a win-win actually for everybody.
We're going to
Yeah.
make
It
a
really
lot
is.
of money on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I just think people need to really, really start thinking a little bit. When the market's bad, you have to start thinking A, creatively.
Yeah.
B, you have to be a lot more customer service oriented, because you can't just sell whatever you want because everyone's buying.
You can't wait
When you have
inspection.
no one buying, you have to be customer service oriented.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like business 101. Market's bad, take care of your customers.
When
Yeah,
it goes
right.
back, it goes back to the seasons, kind of like you guys were talking earlier. Like the season we just went through was flipping and wholesale season. That's gone.
It's
Now
a
it's
renting
going to be
season.
buying and renting season.
It's a buying and renting
Now's the time
season.
where you
And then
build your
it'll-
stuff.
right,
Build,
it-
right?
and then
listen,
it'll cycle
yeah.
back.
We are in the first inning of accumulation phase.
Okay.
We're in the first inning of this accumulation phase, and like you're never gonna time the bottom, right? And if
Yeah.
you try to time it, you're never gonna get it right.
Yeah.
And you're gonna beat yourself up over it, and then you'll end up putting all your eggs in a basket that doesn't really match up, because you think that you've got this whole like psychology of America, the economy, the Fed, governments, war, all this stuff figured out, and no one does.
Yeah.
So just as long as you have a long enough time horizon, you're going to be good. Just as long as you're creative right now, you're going to be good. Just as long as you're optimistic about the opportunity today,
Yeah.
you're going to be good. So that's my prediction.
And so I got two thoughts on that. And I think that as long as you have a mentality of you're going to make it through. You might miss a few payments. You might mess up a few things, but you're gonna make it through. There's a lot of people that either made it through '08 or they checked out, right? So just know that like you're gonna make it through. It's just gonna be a little bit of a struggle, right? So tell me, when do you think that this rate comes down from that 8%?
I mean, you've seen the Fed dot play.
It's gonna keep going up just to help with inflation. When inflation starts steadying down, all that, that's when they're gonna start letting off a little bit.
What's the dot plot say? It says what, 2024 that they're
18
gonna,
to
they're gonna
24
take
months?
it, they're gonna take it down.
You know what? There might be a fake decrease next year for, like you said, elections and all that, whatever.
Yeah.
But realistically, sustainable, probably 2024 around there.
So it might be 18 months.
I mean, at some point, it's gonna happen. It's just you can't time it right,
Here's
obviously.
the thing:
but
the
it's gonna
average
happen.
recession lasts what, 9 to 18 months.
Yeah.
So, I mean, let's be real. We're in one. We're in one.
In reality, we're not super crazy high. You got to realize that back in the day, interest was high. We had a really, they dropped it really, really low to, do certain things or through economies and whatever was going on. But I mean, compared to what it was, it's not super high. If it was our old level, we wouldn't be that much higher than then. It's a shock to a lot of people. They're not used to it.
They're not
People are
used
used to that, low, this and that. All of a sudden, you put it in, you're like, what the heck just happened? But
also too, like, I mean, we just bought a commercial building, and the payments, on a couple $1,000,000 versus 4% when we started the loan in March.
It's a lot.
Versus when we have to refinance the construction, all this stuff, and we have to refinance the whole thing. Is 7%. That's $4,000 a month.
But the best part, everyone's gonna get used to these rates, and when it does come down a little bit, it's gonna be like, holy crap! Woo!
It's going to freaking explode.
Yeah.
And dude, they're training
It will.
us.
That's
Same
what
way they've
happens.
been training us with gas and everything else.
training us to hold back, and I think that's when a lot of us, especially that have seen some things, I think we need to keep moving forward.
I mean, dude,
So when you're
$3.99
in
a
office,
gallon
how
now
are you gonna
seems
change
cheap,
that?
even though it's not.
When you're in office.
Hey, at that point in time,
Mr.
I gotta
Mayor.
just let you know there's a lot more things I know than what I know today. So I had to answer that question at that time.
So isn't there a certain part of you though?
Yes.
Isn't there a certain part of you though that just wants to kind of just be in the room, to just know what they know? I mean, you hear about politicians like selling their stocks before there's information that's out. There's a lot of stuff that's came out, right?
What's that
Isn't there a part of
insider
you that just
trading?
wants to know
It is. It's not proven.
what's and it's like, dude, you're an amazing human being. Like you'll be an amazing thing for this planet over the course of your lifetime. Like when you hear about stuff like this, don't you just want to be a part of that room? Just know what happens.
I tell you what, man. I think the biggest thing is how are we helping those that they can't afford to be in that room, right? How are they being helped, right? Because really what it comes down to is, like I said before, the people that are in some of the toughest buying situations or the toughest neighborhoods, they're going to be the ones that are affected the most by all these changes, right?
100%.
I mean, rent's still high for them, but losing a job is pretty likely. So, I mean, that's the tough part about right now. We need to roll back out. One thing that's big in the city of Columbus right now, we need to get Section 8 CMHA back on track. They're 4 or 5 months behind right now on being able to pay
You
landlords.
texted me that earlier.
Yeah. And I'm telling you right now, I got plenty of landlords that want and will willingly accept Section 8, even in the suburbs. But we need to get that program back on track. And that's hurting me. It's hurting a bunch of people right now. So that's the thing. Like, I mean, do they want us to fail? Do they want to give the property to the hedge funds and not have a personal approach?
So how do we change that, though? How do we change that? How do we get a government program back on track?
So obviously, I think the media needs to bring more attention to the issue, and they need to probably spin it from more of a tenant angle, saying that Section 8 tenants can't find housing right now,
And maybe a small landlord standpoint as well.
I mean, maybe, but I mean, people unfortunately don't want to hear that as much as they want to hear the tenants can't find housing. And they tried to regulate it last year because of how many houses were selling. The Section 8 tenants were getting pushed out. But now people want to house them. But Section 8 or CMHA went ahead and outsourced so many pieces of the program that the outsourcing companies can't keep up with the paperwork, with the inspections, with all the stuff.
Yeah.
So they're 4 or 5 months behind. And landlords are like, man, I have to accept Section 8, or I was go ahead and sell it or rent it to somebody else. Because they have to legally in the city of Columbus accept Section 8. You can't no longer say, I don't want to accept Section 8. If they're disqualified because of something else, that's fine. But not, you have to legally accept Section 8.
It just sucks. I mean, especially like when you have to carry somebody for 4 to 5 months. Like
And rents these high, prices these high, refinances at 7%, you can't even afford it.
Can't do it.
Because your mortgage payment, even in D-class areas, is probably over $1,000 a month.
You can't do it.
Well, you know the job
And that's in
hasn't
our
even
market.
hit
I
yet.
mean, think about Atlanta. Think about LA. Think about some of these other major metros. I mean, you need $3,000 or $4,000 a month just to be able to carry everything.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think we're missing out on a couple of big things. I seen that email you sent the other day about the apartment buildings or turning these office building into apartment buildings. I considered that same thought when things were going crazy. The cost to do that, the city would have to give those buildings to somebody, a developer, for free, essentially. You know, and I know a guy from Minnesota that's he does a lot of business in small towns. They gave him an auto hospital, $75,000. He spent $2 million redeveloping it into 50 units, right?
Yep.
And so it's one of those things where that does work.
And it's like, look, at this point, hey, we'll go ahead and convert some of these to affordable housing. You know, we're gonna house these 10 units to these people.
Okay.
You know, and like, we'll work together.
I like what you're saying. If they do a mixed housing, make it the whole thing affordable housing, turns it into a project. I don't want to do that, right? I want to make sure we stay away from all project type of mentality. But doing 10%, 20%
Yeah, you don't do everything.
Yeah.
But you gotta have,
But I think that there's a lot of home owning landlords that will love to rent to Section 8. Right now, they're
Shit, I'd love some guaranteed payments.
Who wouldn't?
How are we gonna stop going
McGuffey.
through inflation if they keep
That was supposed to
paying
be
for
some
these people to
guaranteed
rent
payment.
though?
Oh man.
Section 8
right?
in itself.
Yeah, I heard
No,
y'all
we're getting
talking about
impact payments still too
Are you really?
from the COVID. Yeah,
Oh,
it's not done yet.
Well, I haven't. Well, they need to exhaust that money. They need to exhaust that money. So
You think there's still money left over?
yeah, there's money left over, and they recently turned over some of that money to, I can't remember what exact organization. Actually, my bad. It's the organization that's helping people with down payment assistance. So there's a lot of money out there and grants out there for first-time home buyers. Tons. Like I was just talking to a banker the other day. If you have a family of 3 or 4, up to $23,000 available in Central Ohio. Up to $23,000 that is actually going to get applied to your down payment, to buy down to your points, to everything. So there's some great programs out there right now. And just so you guys all know this too, if you want to sell some stuff, especially in the low-income housing tracts, all the banks are behind on what's called CRA, Community Reinvestment Act credits. So essentially, back in 08, 09,
Write that down.
all of the major,
You know what? I think he's been in these rooms that we want to be in. Hold on.
I'm trying to figure this out.
all the major banks got in trouble because they did a bunch of predatory or participated in predatory lending practices or redlining in low-income housing tracts. So because of that, now the federal government instituted in 2014 that they need to start offering loans in all these areas. So Wyland Park, Old Town East, all those, Franklinton, Linden, Hilltop, all of that, they're offering crazy amount of incentive.
They did Hilltop?
Yeah, even 5%.
We didn't like it before. Now we do it now.
Listen. The banks are portfolio on these loans. I'm talking about you can still get a loan at 5 or 6% in these areas.
That's crazy, man.
Wyland is $400,000 local housing tract. Somebody $400,000 house can get these grants and a 5% loan.
Dude, I really appreciate it. Like, we're gonna go look that up after this podcast.
Yeah.
For the people that may not have gotten what they needed to get from you today, or the people that maybe you've never talked to, if we could find out and say, man, this is like who I am, this is where I'm going, this is the next 5-10 years of my life, like what would you say?
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm gonna continue to help people in the real estate and financial wellness space as much as humanly possible.
I love that you said financial wellness too.
Yeah, and so I'm gonna be like Terry. I'm gonna follow his footsteps. I'm gonna drop a podcast. It's gonna be awesome. You can catch me on Instagram, YouTube, Donald Payne Jr. But
you need to be a voice.
Yeah, where my path
where
my path is going, at least the next 5 to 10 years, is definitely accumulating more cash flow and assets, traveling, getting experiences, but also too making sure that I'm putting out information like I just shared about CRA and things to help people, so that people can go find the resources and they can be successful in their lives.
Heck yeah.
I love that.
And also too, I want to thank everybody at Ohio Home. I thank you, Tarry Summers, and you, Bobby, and you, Keenan, and you, everybody. Thank you, everybody at the Ohio Home for having me on this podcast, on this show. I've greatly appreciated it, and I've also caught a vision today for what my space needs to look like. Because I've been kind of stuck on that.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate this experience.
Yeah, we tried to recreate, the Rocky Four vision.
We want to be
Some Vision
cozy.
Quest, some Vision Quest,
Yeah,
some
I'm with
wrestler
it.
stuff for
I'm
it.
with it.
By the way, when you travel, can you not get deported next time? That'd be good.
That's a story for another day.
We didn't even get into that.
We'll talk about that another day.
Hey, we're gonna have to bring you back on for that though.
Oh, bro, for sure.
And that's no joke.
Hey guys, thank you for tuning in to the Let's Be Honest show, featuring Keenan, Bobby, and my man Donald Payne.
Yep.
Ladies and gentlemen. Anyways, where we
Follow
talk
on
about
IG.
lifestyle, business, and everything in and between. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll catch you guys next week. Peace.